Welcome, friends and COD lovers, CDL lovers. This is the Midnight Release Experience coming at you on podcast and YouTube form, on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And today we're going to be given our power rankings of the CDL. If you're able to watch, you'll see I have 6 tiers. So through this tier list, we put names to it so you understand how we feel about the teams. But then you can also go off of whoever is above what other team, based off that. That is who we predict will win in the future matches. So this is not a power rankings in terms of standings. This is how we feel about them as a team and their skill. And just to start off, let's go. New York Subliners are going to be at the bottom of the tier at Fix It, along with the Florida Mutineers right above them, and the Paris Legion above them. So, Paris Legion, Florida Mutineers, and New York Subliners. The only words I can give are fix it for these teams. If we go to advanced stats and look at every player in the league's KD, you'll see Spartan, Neptune, Havoc, Priesta, and Kismet. So Neptune and Spart are at the bottom. And it's actually impressive that LAG is not at the bottom with those two underperforming at the point they have. Spart's at a 0.75 and Neptune's at a 0.81. So Spart is far below. Not surprised based off of the matches I've been watching. Spart has been a very big underperformer. But we see here Priesta and Kismet are in that top 5. Priesta has been severely underperforming to an extent that I would never have expected. But let's not go too far ahead. This is still only the first week. It's the first weekend of the CDL. If this is the NFL, you wouldn't go too much off the first week. But just as of right now, we can expect kind of this first weekend to be a example of how they're going to perform throughout at least the first major or at least the qualifiers. So even though I don't think what I'm talking about yet is going to be a foreshadowing of the year, it's at least, I think, going to go throughout this next weekend and then maybe even the whole major one until some fixes can be made, especially with the GAing of the M4. But yeah, Havoc as well is at a 0.82. And just from watching these games, you'll see all 3 of these teams. New York Subliners at a 1-6 map count. Just awful. Vegas, though, has not been terrible with their 3 wins and some closer wins in those 6 losses. And then Florida at a 3-5. They've come out and actually not been as terrible as I expected. They do have a win under their belts. But even with that win, I still, just from what I've seen from Paris Legion, I still think they're better. And that leads us into the next tier, which is disappointment at second, which is the Seattle Surge. This team coming into the major, I believed, because of accuracy being their leader and the way they performed in kickoff last year with the same roster, I expected them to come out again hot and be able to perform very quickly and actually get in like a top 3 rank in Major 1. That's still possible. They can make their way through the through that bottom bracket, through the losers bracket. I mean, they still could win the next 3 and still have that potential, as winning 3 in the qualifiers is enough to get you in the winners bracket. But as of what I'm seeing now, I do not see that as a possibility. And they've just been a big disappointment throughout week 1. If we look at their stats real quick, accuracy has been the underperformer so far at a 0.84. We got Pred at a 1.02, Mac at 1.03, and Sib at a whopping almost 3 at a 1.29. So I expected accuracy actually to be a good player in this game, as this game does rely more on aiming skill and the way accuracy plays. Playing a game like Vanguard or just the past 3 games, I didn't think would be as big of a factor. But he has come out slower. Mac did perform much well day 2. But this team has been almost the exact opposite of LAG. If you look at LAG stats, their numbers are not good. But yet they've been able to pull out wins. As I said, Neptune and Sparta are both at the bottom. But yet, if you look at their stats, they're still 1-1 with a 5-5 record. And it goes to prove that even though they aren't performing as well as we'd like or as they would like, they're still able to pull out some victories, which is the most important thing a CDL team can have, or just really in any sports, which is what is next. LAG is at the bottom of Tier 3, which is Purple Faced, alongside Ultra, and Rocker will be at the top of this tier. So, all three purple teams, which is why it's called Purple Faced, but they're also Purple Faced because when you're watching them, you just aren't sure what is going to happen, what you're going to get from them. I do believe, again, like I explained, I think the LAG, if they played the Surge, LAG would win this coming Friday, and I believe Ultra would be LAG and Rocker would be Ultra. Rocker, again, I think they, looking at their stats, they're number one right now at a 6-2 record, tied with Breach and London Royal Ravens. I do not believe this would be the case. I believe they should be probably 4-4 with that 1-1 record, probably sitting at number 5 with Optic pushing up into the top 3. That's what I believe should be the case. They haven't been terrible. Looking at their stats, Afro has been the contributor at a 1.22. He's always been impressive. And then Bance has been slower. Again, we see that like classic SMGs have been struggling thus far in this game, and that's been happening again. I do believe that that will fix once the M4 GAs comes through. But again, we got Minnesota Rocker, Ultra, LAG, and the Purple Faced. Next up, great first weekend. I'm sure you can all assume what this is. This is London Royal Ravens and the Boston Breach. Just because I'm saying this is great first weekend does not necessarily mean I think that they're going to suck next weekend. But I think they have we always see it in the kickoff. We see teams who aren't as good as they actually are come out better just because they actually practiced more, played more, got the game down better and quicker. I do believe both these teams will come down in the rankings eventually. It might take after Major 1, or maybe like week 3 or into the Major. Well, they might have some duds. But, and I do believe that will happen with the Ravens. We have seen that same type of core of players just can't really play on land that well. And I hope they can flip that script as, they don't believe that. But, throughout Vanguard, we saw that be the case. But, so Ravens and Breach. These two teams, I think, would easily at this point be any team below them. I think it'd be an easy 3-1 for most of these teams. And looking at their stats, I mean, literally 6-2. Breach have been the really impressive team in terms of when I'm watching them. Watching them against the Surge, I was very impressed with what I saw. Awakening, if you watched my last video, he's one of my MVP watchouts. He might be able to make a push if he continues to play at the rate he has been, because he's just been so influential on the map. And then if we go to the London Royal Ravens very quickly, just everyone has been contributing. Zero is kind of that main AR, and it's been kind of fluctuating. Like accuracy has been a slower M4 main AR, but Zero has been performing well. Just everyone's numbers are popping off and doing good. Again, if you watched my last video, I did say the Ravens have been the most impressive just because we expected them to come in as an F tier, but now they're already up top with the other teams. So next up, we got the Prove It tier, which is Optic Texas. I'm saying Prove It because last year, the teams who are above them, obviously the LA Thieves and the Atlanta FaZe, they actually were able to prove it throughout the season. The Optic Texas camp were only able to prove it once in Major 1. After that, they were only able to get top 4s. I don't think they ever got top 3, but they just need to prove it this year. They need to get multiple majors under their belts, and actually, they did get 4th in champs last year, and they need to do better than that in champs this year, and they need to continue to prove it. Other than, the Ravens and Breach have both been more impressive on screen than Optic, but I believe if Optic played either one of these teams, it would result in an Optic win. I just think Optic has better superstars and more talent, and the way they've been playing as a team has been extremely impressive as well. So, last up, the favorites. And I believe, well, we already know what's the cases here. Atlanta FaZe over the LA Thieves. We saw this match play through. We saw FaZe beat Thieves. A little bit of a champs revenge game, I think, for FaZe, which probably gave them that extra motivation they needed to pull out the win. But if we look at the stats here, if we just let's just do every team right now. Selim is at number 2 in the league at a 1.3, along with Scumpy. And then if we go down, up next is Abizi at a 1.05, and Simp has actually been kind of lower, if I believe. He's been kind of like a 0.92. Yep. Which again, seeing that the kind of classic SMG role has been struggling in this game thus far. But again, just because of what we saw on Sunday, I believe it's an easy choice for the Atlanta FaZe to be number 1 over the Thieves. I believe at this point, with the way they just played, they would be any team below them. And I'm excited to see how this transitions into weekend 2, which I'm making a power rankings right after weekend 2. Thanks for watching, and please feel free to like and subscribe and watch some other videos from Midnight Release.